away from this league going back to pre-2024, not 2023, but lower than everything lower than 2024. Like, we all know this league is nowhere near as culturally relevant right now.
We're literally one Caitlin Clark injury away from this league slipping back to its pre-204 glory, or lack thereof. This isn't exaggeration. It's the stark reality fueling every move in the current CBA negotiations. What you're about to witness is both sides locked in the riskiest game of chicken in WNBA history.
Knows it's a problem, but the players, and this is where the kind of lack of professionalism on the player side comes in. Like, they're like reposting stuff about striking. They basically said here, at midnight it expires. Despite demonstrating our willingness to compromise in order to get the deal done, they've shown no willingness. From what we've seen, the players have...
The silence is staggering. First Take isn't even mentioning women's basketball. ESPN barely touches Paige Bucker's 44-point explosion, the only WNBA headline that cut through in January 2025. Caitlin Clark's debut with Unrivaled and the speculation about a possible move to the Liberty. That's it. In just 6 months, the league went from a cultural powerhouse to barely a footnote. And this is where it gets dangerous. The WNBA Players Association let their collective bargaining agreement expire at midnight on January 31st. They staged an inflatable rat outside the NBA store in New York. Tweets about strikes are flying. Meanwhile, the league's only response across the negotiating table: one chilling word: unsustainable.
Use every bit of leverage they have to get as much money as they can. As long as they don't overplay their hand and the season doesn't happen. Even fuck it, even if some of the games have to be played in alternate arenas because they're double booked, who cares? At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is that a season happens. The players need to use every bit of leverage. This is a game of chicken that right now the owners are winning.
Now, let's break down what the players are actually asking for. They want revenue sharing pegged to 30% of the league's total gross revenue, not a fixed salary cap that ticks up by 5% each year like the league is offering. They're pushing for a system that ebbs and flows with the league's yearly financial performance. The league? That's a hard no. And here's why it's not so simple. The WNBA doesn't run like the NBA. Most teams are independently owned, each with its own costs and budgets. The league itself simply doesn't control enough money to promise that kind of flexible payout. When the Players Association talks about pay equity, it sounds progressive, but in reality, it's a financial model the league's current setup can't support.
A'ja Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier. If this league shuts down, and those 6 or 7 players that I've mentioned, if the league shuts down, and every city that has a team, because yes, there are cities that have fans, every city that has a team starts a breakout league, and every single player in the WNBA, except for those 6 players, doesn't play, and they all play in their markets.
This is where both sides are really playing with fire. The players are claiming the league isn't negotiating in good faith. They're tweeting about labor protests, hinting at strikes, and signaling they're willing to go all the way. But what are they actually doing? They're refusing to budge. They've drawn a hard line in the sand and are daring the league to step over it. Here's the catch. The league knows something the players don't want to admit. In the entire WNBA, maybe 6 or 7 players have a personal brand bigger than their team's brand. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Buckers, Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, A'ja Wilson, Nafisa Collier. That's it. Everyone else, from a business standpoint, replaceable. Harsh, but it's reality. Take the Connecticut Sun, for example. You could swap out their entire roster for former UConn alums not currently in the league, and attendance wouldn't budge. TV ratings wouldn't drop. That franchise is carried by the Sun brand, not the individual players, and the same is true for most teams across the league.
Everybody knows this isn't a case of, is there going to be a 2026 season? This is a case of, is this league going to exist or not? And who has more to lose by this league not existing? And I think the players have more to lose. That's just my opinion. I think the players should hold out. I think the players, if they don't like what they get, they should hold out. They should absolutely hold out. No question about it. Get as much as you can get. Get every cent until you have to miss a game.
Here's the nightmare scenario. keeping everyone on edge. Imagine the players actually hold out. Imagine they strike, miss games, and the 2025 season is delayed or even canceled altogether. What comes next? The dominoes start to fall and the league starts unraveling. Sponsors pull back. There's no product for them to attach their brand to. The new TV deal, the one everyone was counting on to fund these salary increases, renegotiated or scrapped because the league failed to deliver. Teams in smaller markets, already bleeding money, are forced to shut down. And then what? Players might think they can start their own league or jump to an existing alternative. Reality check. Unrivaled is already floundering. The numbers don't lie. Even with massive cash from tech investors who treated women's basketball like the next crypto, even riding the Caitlin Clark hype wave, even scrambling to land a TNT deal after losing NBA rights, Unrivaled still finished dead last in primetime ratings for their key demographic.
And money's not going to be made up elsewhere. So your players care deeply about the fans, take pride and honor and loyalty every time they take part in the court. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Like, I mean that. And this is not a knock on certain players. It's not a knock on teams. It's not a knock on the league. I do not believe that the majority of WNBA players care about a single fan. I don't believe that. And that's not like a. I think they care about sport basketball. I think they care about their teammates. I think they care about a lot of things. I don't think a lot of them care about it.
Let's break down leverage, because this is where the players are seriously misreading the situation. They're acting like they hold all the cards, assuming the league can't function without them. But here's the truth, the league doesn't need all of them. It needs Caitlin Clark healthy and on the court. That's the entire calculation right now. If Caitlin Clark tore her ACL tomorrow, the league's revenue projections would crumble. The TV deal would get renegotiated downward. Attendance would slide back to 2023 levels. Suddenly, that fluctuating revenue share the players are demanding would tank the salary cap from $1.3 million to $600,000. And at that point, the league wouldn't even be sustainable. The owners know this. The league office knows this. And deep down, the players know it too. That's why this standoff is so dangerous. Both sides are gambling the future of women's professional basketball on who can outlast the other in a negotiation where losing isn't really an option for either side.
I'm scared the players are overplaying their hand. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to criticize the players until a game is missed. I think they might be overplaying their hand. Until one game is missed, I am all for the players continuing to do whatever they can to get paid as much as possible. Until they miss one game of basketball, and then they're not only fucking over the current fans. If they miss a game if they start missing games and the season's done, the league's done. And if the WNBA is gone, I don't know what the future of women's basketball is, because Unrivaled is going.
Here's what needs to happen and why it probably won't. The players need to realize that a fixed salary cap with guaranteed yearly increases is far safer than chasing a revenue share tied to a league that might not even exist in 3 years. At the same time, the league has to offer enough compensation so players don't feel exploited while the league profits off their work. Instead, we're stuck with inflatable rats, public statements about being undervalued, and both sides digging in as the clock ticks down. The Players Association claims they care about the fans and take pride in honoring them on the court. That's PR. The truth, most players care about the fans' money, not the fans themselves. And guess what? Most owners feel the same way. Welcome to professional sports. The difference: owners can survive without the WNBA. They're billionaires with diversified portfolios. The players, this is their livelihood, their career, and they're betting it all on a hand that's weaker than they think. Here's the frustrating part: the players are right. They deserve more. The league exploded in 2024. Attendance soared, ratings climbed, merchandise sales went through the roof. Caitlin Clark's jersey outsold every NBA player except LeBron James and Steph Curry for a period. The players created real value and they should share in it. But the way they're handling negotiations risks killing the golden goose. You don't get to demand 30% revenue sharing when the league has historically operated at a loss. You don't get to threaten strikes when the league's relevance hinges on one player staying healthy. You don't get to act like you hold leverage when the alternatives, Unrivaled, ICE, are already showing they can't survive. The Players Association has publicly criticized the league for jeopardizing fan trust and investment by clinging to the status quo. But here's the question no one is asking. If the league folds and only 6 or 7 star players refuse to play while a breakaway league fills rosters with replacements, do fans even care? Think about it. Swap out the entire Connecticut Sun roster with random players, but keep the Sun brand. Attendance barely changes. Do the same with most other teams without one of those 6 stars. Nobody notices. Most fans aren't showing up for individual players. They're showing up for their local team, the experience, and professional women's basketball itself. That's why the league holds the real leverage, even if it doesn't feel that way. Now, imagine games actually get canceled, not just delayed, canceled. The players think this forces the league to give in. Here's what really happens. 1. Sponsors demand refunds, reducing revenue. 2. TV partners renegotiate contracts since they're not getting the product they paid for. 3. Casual fans, those who just started watching in 2024, disappear. Labor disputes. Don't keep them hooked. They'll find something else. 4. The narrative shifts. Right now, the WNBA is growing, exciting, and worthy of investment. After a strike, the league suddenly looks unstable, risky, and maybe not worth the investment. That story sticks. It's permanent. The players say they're willing to do whatever it takes, but are they willing to burn millions? For the average WNBA player making $200,000 a year, missing one season is 10% of their total career earnings. Miss a season and the league folds? That's everything gone. And it's not like other options exist. Overseas leagues pay well, but they're not going to double their offers just because WNBA players are suddenly available. Unrivaled is already struggling with viewership. Ice hasn't proven it can survive. So where exactly do the players think they're going to make that money back? Here's the reality about negotiations. Both sides need the ability to walk away. The owners can walk away. They'll lose money on their WNBA investments, sure, but they're wealthy enough that it doesn't matter. The players, they can't walk away. This is their career, their livelihood, their dream, and yet they're negotiating like they have equal leverage, and they don't. The smartest move for the players right now would be to accept the league's offer, a fixed salary cap with guaranteed 5% annual increases, claim a win for getting raises, and then renegotiate in 3 years when there's more clarity about whether the 2024 boom was sustainable. But that's not happening because they're being advised like this is an NBA style negotiation with leverage the WNBA simply doesn't have. So what's likely to happen? There are 3 possibilities. 1. Players blink at the last second, take a deal slightly better than the league's original offer, but far below what they demanded, declare victory anyway, and life goes on. 2. Players strike, miss games, panic when the public doesn't side with them, and end up taking a worse deal than they could have gotten in the first place. 3. Players strike, the season is canceled, the league folds, and professional women's basketball in the US disappears for a generation. My prediction? Scenario 1. The players will realize that walking away from the WNBA doesn't mean freedom, it means no professional basketball in America at all, and they'll take the best deal they can get. But the fact we're even having this conversation, the fact that Scenario 3 is on the table, says everything about how fragile this league still is. The WNBA had its best year ever in 2024. Caitlin Clark brought unprecedented attention, ratings soared, merchandise sales exploded, the future finally looked bright, and now, 6 months later, we're questioning whether the league will even survive. This isn't about greedy players or malicious owners, it's about the fundamental economics of women's professional basketball, not nearly as robust as many want to believe. So here's my question for you. Think before you answer in the comments. If the WNBA season gets canceled over this negotiation, whose side are you on? The players demanding more money but risking the league, or the owners trying to protect the league's long-term survival but possibly underpaying the people who created all this value? You can't really say both sides are right.